communication specialty. And I just worked through that networking. I got hired by Intel Corporation. So I actually worked for Intel Corporation for a little over 10 years. I worked test and development for the Pentium 3, the Pentium 4, and the dual core processor. So electrical engineering, electrical engineering.
It's a snapper that does that.
Now this wasn't a great job, but I wanted to do something else. So I left and I went to work for Northrop Grumman. So I worked for Northrop Grumman and I taught 131 board officers. So I taught targeting board officers how to integrate non-kinetic form, how to affect things like network, how to affect human dynamics, all that stuff. You know, the hearts and minds kind of stuff. I did a lot of that stuff. And then within Northrop Grumman, I actually went on further and started working with the Joint Integrated Fire Operations Suite, where I went around and I worked with people on non-kinetics and cyber. So I got pumped out to US Cyber for about 9 months. Did some stuff with it, then went to Army Cyber, and US Army Cyber for about another 7 months. During that, enough certificates to walk over and trip on. I'm certified ethical hacker, and then ethical. So I've done penetration testing. I've done penetration testing on hospitals. I've done penetration testing on large corporations. So in the midst of all that, while that was going on, I also stayed in the Army. So I am an Army reservist. So I'm not out yet. So I'm still in the Army Reserve. I'm currently the Sergeant Major of the 392nd Civil Battalion. Of that Civil Battalion, again, we specialize in communications, comms, and cyber. So we have 3 cyber teams underneath us. The cyber support and cyber operations. Recently just set up cyber operations for the combat medic band, so the field hospital. So we established all the communications for those. Started establishing those pipelines. So that's my background. So I don't know if you noticed, not a lot of that in healthcare, right? Not a lot of that in healthcare. So when I'm talking about healthcare and I'm talking about IT and healthcare, this is where I need your input. So I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and talking to people that have the questions and going to different places, having different conversations to find out where those needs are. What are those requirements? And it originally started with that whole IT program. And then it said, you know what, that's really not the need. The need is where these biomeds are, and where they're connecting these devices. Right? We're connecting all these remote devices. Who's responsible for securing them? Who's responsible for connecting that kind of stuff? Who works through that? They reset that.
That's what I'm saying.
I got it.
You got it?
Should.
Look at that. So we look at the problem. So what are healthcare delivery organizations? What's going on inside of this industry? What's going on that led us to this? What's going on that led us to this? Well, in 2019, 5.6 billion annually. So it costs healthcare providers $5.6 billion annually because of these data breaches, these different data breaches that happen. And in 2019, the top 10, just the top 10, were 32 million patient records. You say, okay, patient records. So, you know, when I first heard this, I thought, okay, patient records. What's in that? You know, what's in a patient record? Heart rate, blood pressure, yeah, right. Well, no, what's also in there is their healthcare provider, their billing information, their credit cards. All that stuff is inside of those patient records. And you know, that clinical data is a staple of resources. We have to have it, right? Doctors, nurses, to get that patient care, we have to have those resources, the electronic health record access, the administrative data, the claims department, the patient, the health survey, the clinical data. All this stuff is critical to us providing patient care, right? This is stuff that's critical. How do we protect that? How are we protecting it? And then the 5 most, and I know this says 2015, but it's actually true for today. Number 1 target, healthcare, because I get more information from healthcare data than I get from target. I get more information. I get more information. Let's just say I get into this. Right? Again, I'm thinking from an ethical hacker. I get into this information. I find out that you're diagnosed with a certain thing. Now, instead of competition, I'm trying to get your information, I can actually spear that to you. I can be like, hey, you know what? Based on your diagnosis, I found this new study, this experimental drug, click on this link. Now you're the head of an organization, or you're inside of a biomed organization. What does you clicking that link get me? Access access to your company. Now I have your medical records, right? All your patient data, or maybe not your patient data, maybe just your service data. I can get more information from that. I can build it, I can build it, I can continue to build it. I can continue to go based on just got the health record. Just got to your health record. So this is definitely a problem we have inside our organization, right? So much so of a problem that the FBI said it's a problem. You guys have heard of ransomware? You know what it is? Tell me what it is. Talk to you.
Where they get into your system and then lock it up until you pay them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They get into your system and they lock it up until you pay. They're really not doing anything different than what we do on a normal daily basis. We encrypt all our data. That's all they're doing. They're just encrypting the data, except for they have the key. Well, how do we stop that? How do we get that to, what's that vulnerability? How do they get into that? How do they get in there to do that encrypted stuff in order to enable that ransom? How about medical devices? Who's securing those medical devices? Are they vulnerable? Can they be vulnerable? So let's think of it again from my aspect, right? I'm a network guy. When you bring in your network device and you plug it in and it doesn't work, who do you call? Do you call the IT guy? You call Biomed, right? You call Biomed. Hey, you call Biomed. Does Biomed know how to set up the IP address and security?
No.
Should he?
No.
Why not? Because I'm a network guy. I don't care up to the wall. If you call me and tell me your medical device isn't working, I'm going to walk to the wall. I'm going to plug the network sticker in. I'm going to say, you got network. You have a nice day. Right? I've done my part. Okay, so you verify with IT. That's me, right? Is it compatible? I don't know.
And also the privacy and the same page on the devices coming in. It's IT and highly involved in communicating with the devices. We should be meeting a certain progress, making sure that the patches are updated, everything's going to be able to get them. Not going to be able to get them on the network. We need to put both with the when you get your body there and say, hey, I'll plug this in. And we have to do procedures. Possible. Should be first. But I think we all know this take place. So we know about once it's there, can't be connected.
So are those conversations happening?
Not on a regular basis.
So is there a violent guy that's trained to identify that kind of stuff?
There is,
Yes.
hospitals.
In your case, yes.
Yes.
In your guys' case, somebody else's case, is that the case? Is there somebody trained to do that?
I think it's a bit of a gray area between the two, and that's where the issue comes in, especially if it's after hours. This happens when you're on call. They'll call Biomed, we say, no, it's IT. IT says, no, it's Biomed. So there needs to be a connection, or a connection, I think, between the two, or cross training.
So I've seen that on many occasions. Cross training.
Right.
So you need an IT guy that also knows Biomed.
Right.
And that's where we're headed because of this problem. So this is what we see as the gap right now inside the biomedical industry. Where is that guy? How do we train that guy? What are the skills that he needs? And what does he need to look at? Well, how about he needs to look at those medical devices vulnerability, like third-party stuff. Who has a third-party vendor for the medical devices? And do they do the security updates? So you said no. Should they? So I know at Tripler, and they have this whole job. Every morning he comes in is to look at all the medical devices inside the hospital and look to see if any of them have security updates. And if they do, he downloads them into whatever mechanism it takes, whether it be a disk, a thumb drive, the network. He goes around the hospital and updates everything. But he can't do the third-party stuff, proprietary software stuff. So he does that. Service contract, right? You guys have service contracts for that? Well, who's managing that? Who's making sure that those updates are there? Maybe it's that guy, that gray area guy. Is there an IT? Because I'm really feeling responsible to the wall. Right? Once you have internet to the wall, that's where my responsibility ends. Right? So you're between the wall and the patient. I'm just to the wall. So who's responsible to the patient? Biomed, but you don't have networking, you told me that. So you're right there, and then I'm purposely running you down this lane. I can be rude or insulting, but you know, this is the problem. This is what we saw as the problem set. This is what we definitely saw as the problem set. Because of those not trained on networking and those networking not trained on biomed. Does that make sense? So we're looking at the future being that person, that training. It can go inside of every organization. Well, how do we connect that stuff? So how do we connect and maintain devices safely? How do we connect and maintain them? Because patient safety is the top 3 concerns, right? The interruptions in patient care, the compromise of the PTR security, or the threats to patient safety. Now, again, I can log into your infusion pump. Only sit in the lobby. How many people sit in a hospital lobby on a laptop? Is that suspicious? No. So I can do that all day, right? I can do that all day. Just scan it, see what's open. Because most of these medical devices are connected wirelessly. I can sit in a hospital, I can capture packets using Wireshark or Snort, and I can send it back out so I can get a response. I know what the response is supposed to be. So I can look at the response, and I can decrypt it. I can do that, you know, maybe 10, 20, 200,000 times in about 10 minutes. I can start to decrypt your system. I can start to get access to it. Well, who protects that information? Who tells that so that I can't see it? Who works through that stuff to keep it? And then there's always the HIPAA and the FDA regulations. And then the nuances of medical devices. What about, you got an infusion pump that was built in 2000, but it still works, right? So why would I change it? What would be the cost of changing it? Well, what would be the cost of leaving it? What's the cost of leaving that pump on there from a security standpoint? If I get a breach, somebody gets into the system, what's that cost? How does it affect me as an organization? So these archaic systems and lifestyle, how many of the systems, biomedical devices, do you currently have in the hospital that are end of life? You laugh. You laugh. How many of them are end of life that nobody's supporting it from a software update, from a security standpoint? And then security is always changing, right? Security within inside the network is always changing. There's always new things that get you in trouble, right? And the cool thing, well, I won't say cool thing, the thing that's interesting to know is that even when you get your new device, it's got vulnerabilities. Even if you replace it after lifestyle, because you're in this lifestyle, it's not cost effective for me to keep it because I'm assuming rid of it. I'm get rid of this and I want to get a new device. Well, when I worked with the Intel Corporation, what we did is we solutioned all the way out to 80%. Once we got to 80%, we started selling. Because the amount of time it took us to get from 80% to 100% was billions of dollars. And what we do is we would publish it at 80%, and then we give you updates, send the service pack. You guys all have updates, right? You have Windows 10, who doesn't have Windows 10? How many updates do you get? Well, that's why, because they're getting it to that 100%. But then there's new things that are coming out, vulnerabilities, we gotta update that again. So does it ever truly get to 100% safe? So I'm telling you this now. System I couldn't get in, given enough time and energy. Enough time and resources. So can you 100% secure it? No, but you can make it to where it's not easy, to where the gain is not equal the effort. But right now, that gain is actually really easy. It's not a lot of effort. So that's how it works. So, and then you got to think about right to repair. Does your right to repair also include right to update? You said, Does it include right to update? And you can have somebody that knows how to look at it if you're on a current version. Or should that be something that's part of PM? When a device comes in that connects via wired or wireless, should part of the PM be, am I on the right version of software? Do I have the right updates? Can your biomeds identify that right? Is that an issue? How about the same aspect of when they get it and they want to send it out? How do they decontaminate the data? Or how do they sterilize it? Yeah, we know how to sterilize it so it doesn't have to be infectious on it. We know how to sterilize patient data. How do we know how to get the patient's information off of that device? Or do we send it out? And if we do, is it a violation? Yeah. If we don't have the personnel trained to do that, we're assuming that risk. And we're not assuming that risk just for us, but we're assuming that risk for the entire organization. So there's risk involved in that. And of course, we always have limited budgets, right? Budget is always a factor. Budget is always a factor. And what you said, these guys need to sit down and have a meeting. How often do those meetings happen? You laugh again. How often do those meetings happen where you're actually integrating this thing called biomed, IT, and facilities? How do we work all those things together? How do we organize as a group to manage change? I want to buy new stuff. How do I manage new stuff coming into my network? Is it something that is actually even HIPAA compliant? Bill was telling me the other day about a device that he actually did some research on. Come find out they said it's not HIPAA compliant and not capable of being HIPAA compliant, but it'll help you. I can't even put it on my network. I can't put it on my network. You buy it, you bring it to me, and that's a network guy. Like, yeah, no. What you got for, but we didn't have that meeting. We didn't work through that. We didn't work through that change. We didn't work through that environment. So the cybersecurity survey, just over 15% of the significant security issues were directly linked to medical devices. You say 15%, that's really not bad. But when you do the math, about 25 million patient records. So 15% is actually a lot. Upwards of about 25 million patient records. And then what happens when we go to this thing called the Internet of Things? You guys heard of this? The Internet of Things? The idea behind this is they're going to connect everything to a central server location. Your heating, your air conditioning, your water, your electric, your patient records, everything inside of the hospital connected to it. And there's an add-on to it. Right? It's got an O2 sensor, a blood pressure, and a heart rate. How about instead of me going to the clinic, checking in, waiting, going to get my blood pressure and my heart rate done, I just have them linked to my watch. Now I don't have to go back. I just read my stuff off my watch. Good. Go back and see the doctor. Do I have the latest security patch on my watch? I don't know, it just came out. There's zero-day devices. You guys know what zero-day devices are. Zero-day pulsar, zero-day virus, or zero-day vulnerabilities. What that is I made a product, and I honestly think it's actually 100% good. Then when I put it on the market, somebody tells me, yeah, it's not. Here's the problem. The problem I didn't even know the zero-day. So it's all software. That's why a lot of things get released in called beta. We get beta releases. You can find them. Well, who's checking for that vulnerabilities in medical devices? Who's looking for that stuff? Who is that future guy or that current guy that does that? Because do we even have a detailed map of where our devices are and where they're connected? Do we even know where they all are? And where they're connected? They don't connect wireless, right? So it's just I can take it anywhere and I can connect it. Well, not really, because each one of those areas, i.e. ER, patient records, they're all on different LANs. If you look at it from an IT standpoint, they're on different local area networks. So realistically, I have to move them around. Do I have a map? Do I know that all of them have been updated? And how do I scan them for vulnerabilities? Right, you guys have seen that on your computer where it says scanning for vulnerabilities. Well, we do that too in the IT industry where we scan everything for vulnerabilities. The problem is I'm only scanning to the access point of the wireless. I can't scan past that to see the device. Because it's got that third party software. So who's that guy that scans that? Who's that team that looks at those devices and says they are protected? The patients won't get hacked or possibly hurt or injured. There's all that stuff that's part of it. And then why do criminals do what they do? Money, right? They do it for money. Yeah, your cyber criminals do, but what about host nations? What about countries that are counter to us? What could they find out about us as America by learning our medical information? Lots, right? Lots of statistical data. And the same aspect, if they're inside of our hospital network and they do some sort of mass event, they could stop all of our data from flowing. Then what does that do to our providing care? Can your doctors, nurses, and pharmacists go to paper records? Because it's been found that most of them can't. So you laugh, so you're with the no, right? So we have to protect this stuff. This information, this flow of stuff has to be completely protected so that we can provide that patient care, so that we can actually account for it. If something happens, we can counter it. Do we have backups? Do we have backup systems? Are all these things in place? And I ask this question because it's kind of critical, because there was I won't say their name just because I won't put it out there. There was an organization that encompassed like 17 different hospitals, and they got attacked by ransomware. They came in through the medical device. They got hit by ransomware and shut down the operations of 12 hospitals in a regional area. Fully shut down. Because they were trying to do paper versions and couldn't keep up. We just didn't have the processes in place anymore. So they had one patient that was critical. They put that patient in an ambulance. And they started transporting it to a different site, and that patient passed away because they didn't have care. It's the first patient death associated to cybercrime. So it's happened. So the patient has lost their life because the hospital lost their data. And that opened our eyes a lot to, this is obviously something we need to look at this coming up in the future. How do we protect this? How do we get through this? How do we go through this? So according to cybersecurity, again, just over 15%. But let's take a single device into consideration. Think about what's involved in that. Is this device secure? Is this device safe? Does this device provide me that patient care? So how old is the software? With that, how old is the hardware? Is it something that's actually being supported, or is it on the end of the life cycle? Is it inside of the life cycle? How about my limited budget? I can't afford to replace it, but can I afford to pay a fine from the FDA? Can I afford for all of my patients to lose confidence in me and go somewhere else? You know, in this world of, what is it, the minute clinic? At the minute, you know, there's all these clinics that are all over here. Why would I go to a hospital? They're just going to lose my data. I'm going to end up with all kinds of problems and not get the treatment and care. Why don't I just go to one of these minute clinics? Because you know, that won't take a minute. It'll be a lot easier, right? They won't lose my information. You lose that patient confidence when you lose that patient data. Because when you lose that patient data, what do you have to do? It's one of the first things you have to do. You have to notify them all that you lost it. So you have to tell them there's something to lose data. And then, am I doing manual updates or am I doing automatic updates? Systems out, I've been watching it quite a bit. They're getting past that, what I just talked about, access point. They're getting past that access point where they can actually scan devices. The problem is, there are some corporations, again, I'm not going to say names, there are some corporations that have proprietary software that my systems will not scan. Have to do with manual. Because they're protecting that software. They're protecting their proprietary information, their way of gathering and sending information. So they're protecting. Now, the good thing is that wireless is using the IEEE Society. You guys know what the IEEE Society is? The International Electronics and Electricians and Electrical IEEE. They're an international society that sets standards. They're the same ones that set the standard for 802.11, which is wireless. And all it is different versions. So 802.11a, b, c, d, e, v, e, say, you guys seen that? That's IEEE standards. So all of these things eventually use this standard, which is good and bad. Because now I have the standard way that all systems communicate, but I also have the standard way all systems are vulnerable. So they're inside of there. So IT professionals need to be part of that solution. They need to look at what kind of encryption am I doing? How am I sending and receiving data? Am I sending passwords in plain text? Am I opening up the network connectivity so that I can roll that diffusion pump around and connect anywhere in the hospital? Or do I have to reconfigure IP addresses for each place I take it to so that it can be secure and safe? Or is it open? These are questions within the devices. Is it HIPAA compliant? Are there regulations there? And how about the other? You laugh about the other, but there's always an other, right? There's absolutely always other. What are those others? And those others are usually specific to your organization. Policies, procedures, requirements. What are those others? And who knows this? So parental problem. Software always outpaces hardware. Always, always. Windows 10. My computer has not changed, but my Windows 10 has changed like 15 times. My hardware stayed the same. My software did not. What about my infusion pump software? It used to just allow the nurse to enter in how much to give them per hour. Well, now it connects to the internet. It monitors the amount that is dispensed. It monitors the amount that's left. It monitors how many times it's been viewed. It monitors all that. It's changed, right? They're all changed. Are those changes actually protected or are they safe? Can they actually protect the data? And if not, sorry, I swear it's out. So if not, is it accessible to me? Is it accessible to me? And can I change that amount of dispense per hour from the lobby? I can't tell you how many CCs you're supposed to get. But if I was not of good moral character, I couldn't do that, right? If I could get into your infusion pump, you didn't have responsibility. I could change that. Or if I was a country that said I'm going to create turmoil in America and I'm going to make it to where all of them, although they say it's 10 milligrams, it's going to be 100 milligrams. And it's going to say it's with 100 milligrams, but it's really only 10. You guys following me what I'm saying? That I can manipulate the software so that it thinks 100 is 10. And when you put in 10, it gives you 100. Then it displays that it gave them 10. Huh? I can do that. That's software. That's software. Is it updated? And then again, that 85% solution, right? I got you to 85%. Here's the new software. I'll get you updates when I can. I'll get you updates when I can. Who's monitoring them updates? Who's working through them updates? What's that guy? What's that person? Archaic systems again. You know those archaic systems you. So, work for the Army. Right? Technology, greatest thing ever. We had two systems that were only running on Windows 95 last year. Because what we were using was no longer supported by our vendors. It hadn't been supported in years. But we had to use it to maintain our command and control, to receive our data from other systems. We couldn't upgrade it. What about these command centers that they're using inside a hospital that are getting this updated information? Can they accept information from Windows 95? Or does it have to be from Windows 95 to display that information correctly? You know, Siemens controllers. How long have they been around? A long time. And they are SCADA systems. Right? The SCADA systems that control water, electricity, gas, but they can control a lot of other things too. They've been around for a long time. They're actually, when they first came out, SCADA, our Siemens systems had their own proprietary language. They weren't using IEEE standards. Now they since have, right? They're using those standards now. And are some of that systems still in place? So could I turn the heat on from an old 95 system in a hospital and make it 110 degrees in there? Realistically, I could. They were using that kind of system, those kind of antiquated systems. And then again, back to right here. It seems to be a big thing. I understand there's like people in Congress and there's a lot of discussion about that right over there. And again, I just want to add the verbiage, the right to update. Really want to add that verbiage to it so that we have that ability so that they can't say, well, update it, we'll bring it up. Something we were talking about earlier. You know, I'm in a small hospital in Victoria, Texas. And I bought stuff from a company, you won't say names. I bought stuff from a company. Service contract says they'll update it when they find vulnerabilities. Well, that same company supports the University of Texas, University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins, Case Western. When they get a new security, who are they going to update first? Yeah, the big boys, right? Way more than my little hospital in Victoria, Texas, right? Who are they going to update first? So how come I don't have the right to pull that and update it? Okay, we'll give it to you. When you need it, give us a call. We'll give you a service password, right? Read that service password. Take about 48 hours. What can happen on a network in 48 hours? Because now we're thinking speedy humans. We're thinking speedy humans, right? What can I do in 48 hours? But let's think about vulnerabilities on the network. What can I do in 48 hours? Or better yet, what can I do in 48 milliseconds? Because everything on the internet, remember, is moving at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Electron flow. So what can I do at speed of machine that I can't do at speed of human? Or what can I do at speed of human that I can't do at speed of machine? We need to be at speed of machine. We need to respond to problems and issues within milliseconds, microseconds. How do we get to that? How do we organize that? How do we get that updated that fast? Anybody bought a new computer recently? First thing that happens is you turn it on. There's always updates. Do you know that from the moment you turn that computer on to the moment you actually get the update in, you have been scanned about 60 times? Somebody out there is looking for stuff. And it just happens that it sees you right when you turn it on. On average, about 60 times a day for a secure system. Just because they're running all the time in the back. So that right there, that right to update is critical, because I want that update as soon as I can get it right. And I want somebody who's managing that, knows that it is being updated, and it's ready to go. And again, always limited budget. So what? So what are you guys doing as an organization to protect your data inside of Model? What do you guys do? Do you have somebody that's looking at this? Is there somebody within the hospital organization that's thinking through this, that's looking at what are these vulnerabilities? Because remember, the FBI said this is our #1 target. So the FBI and Homeland Security are looking at this in-depthly. And I hate to say that, they're looking at you for the answer on those medical devices. Do we have that answer? We see this as well, but so train the whole market to understand principles. You got Cisco, that's great, that's a good start.
These items will actually do that. We can verify that all actually solved. Yes, no, they a lot of the systems. For the software, it's check it out that is here for push back was it's like a lot of stuff that is mission critical
So you have a holistic approach to the solution, which is what really needs to happen. You need that holistic approach, but you also need the expertise inside of that approach in order to come up with these solutions, right? You need that whole everybody involved, especially again when we talked about that Internet of Things. So you said you got a Cisco certified, which is great. There's a lot of other organizations that are doing like Security Plus. What Security Plus gets you? In the door. But Does it actually specialize on anything security? It really, Security Plus gives you an understanding of what security and encryption is. So that's most of these organizations, right? I got a file manager who's got Security Plus, he's good to go. I hear the laughter. I hear the laughter. Is he? No, he's an entry. He's got a lot to learn from that. There's a lot that's built onto that. Can he manage a server? Can he manage data folders and encrypt and protect that folder? Can they actually look at a piece of equipment and say, this is how? There's some more that's needed in that, right? Now, there are a couple of certifications that are out there that we took a long look at. The HIMSS, Certificated Healthcare Information Management Systems. There are some certifications that are working specifically towards that. We kind of cater our associates and bachelor's degree to that, so that we had that guy. So that future biomed was also very confident in this thing called networking. Because networking IT is a very vast subject, right? It can easily be done. So this first vignette that we wanted to talk about, this first vignette was the AMCA data breach, 25 million patients. But the interesting thing about this is they didn't even know for 8 months. For 8 months, people were inside of their network pulling data off of their system. For 8 months. And it was all because the administrator accidentally gave the wrong access. Because they didn't fully understand the server software stuff. They accidentally gave it. And these 6 companies came forward and they said, these are the numbers that we have. Because remember, I told you, when they get breached, what do they got to do? Got to report, notify somebody, log out. The sad thing is they don't know how many were actually affected by this. Because here's why. AMCA got breached, right? AMCA got breached. Well, these 6 companies were associated with them. So they got breached. How many companies are associated with those 6? And how many companies are associated with those? And how many are associated with those? And they stole 2 friends, and they stole 2 friends, and they stole 2 friends. So will we ever really know the full ramification of this data? Probably not. Probably not. All because of misconfiguration. And the worst part about it is, AMCA is currently filing for bankruptcy. Put them out of business. It was so huge that it put them out of business. And Quest and LabCorp are facing numerous investigations and lawsuits about breaches of data protection. So if there's, a single misconfiguration, company's not going bankrupt. Data is very critical. Oregon Department of Health. I like this one, I thought it was good. Once again, data was misconfigured. The way they found out about it, so here's a question. How many people work at a hospital? Roughly. What do you got? How many people work at a hospital? 6,000. We'll go with 6,000. I'm now unethical hacker. Phishing attack. I send out an email that says, hey, play this game. It's awesome and it'll pass the time at work. In order for me to put that in, so, God, don't send it to you. Assume you're at this call. So, don't put it in my life. No, it's okay. I'm not going to. So, I send out this email that says, hey, play this game. How many of them 6,000 do I need to click in order to get access? 1. I only need 1. The odds of me getting someone to click are way better than me getting someone to not click. This is interesting stuff that we talked about earlier. There's a better chance that the person who clicks it will be a younger person than an older person. Everybody says that doesn't make sense, but it does. I think about it. Because older people don't trust the internet. Younger people grew up with it. It's the greatest thing ever. So odds are your younger people are more probably clicking than your older people. And a lot of people focus that. But how do we focus that training so that someone doesn't click the email? And what it resulted in is 3 weeks They have to. And they obtained patient data, which included social security numbers and a whole bunch of PI. They got all kinds of information. And they're not entirely sure of the ramifications, but they assume that it was the 64,000 or 645,000 patient records that they had in this one organization. But they don't know if it went outside of the organization or not, based on an employee clicking the button of phishing.
What happened to that person?
I don't know, but so the military actually did a test. Spear phishing, they targeted every admiral in the Navy. Said something about the general promotion list or admiral promotion list. And all but one of them clicked it, and the only reason he didn't click it is because he was afloat and didn't have internet. But it's targeted to you, so it's very specific to you. Save money on medical device preventive maintenance. Here's an article from Amy that says save money on medical device maintenance. And it looks like the Amy site. Are you going to click it? Do you get those emails? You very well might. I can craft it to look exactly like the Amy, and I can target it to you to get a better chance of you clicking it. So are you really at fault? Well, yeah. Yeah, you are. But there's some circumstances to go around it, huh? You're a victim, right? You're essentially a victim. And then that's most places see it, is that you are a victim to it. Because I can hit everything. I can go to Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it, chat, you name it, whatever, and I can do research about you. Give that shot to you. You can target, spear fish it, a specific person. Or I can spear fish it to your executives, which would be whale, right? And whale. It's big fish. Big fish. We're going after big fish, it's called whale. And so you're the president of the company on whale, that's spear fishing. I also, how much information do you put online to make this even easier for me? How much information do you put on? I can actually do this. All I have to do is find out your email address, do a bunch of research on you, and go to your email and click forgot password and answer security questions. Now, research, what was the name of your first dog? You go to Facebook and you can see if they fill out one of the questionnaires. What's your favorite color? Where did you grow up? You know those surveys that everybody's filling out? They look exactly like your security questions. Yeah, are we training people that? Are we letting them know, hey, don't do that? This can happen. This is the result. 645,000 patient records. Oops, that's changed slides, didn't I? 645,000 patient records. Just because I went to Facebook and I learned a whole bunch of information about you when I said change password. I answered your security questions. Now I got your email. Now I can send an email to you. That's safe, right? Hey, read this PowerPoint form before I present. Are you at fault? Are you a victim? So it can't happen, but we have to train people to identify that stuff, to look at that stuff, and not do that stuff. That training is critical in healthcare. The training is critical for those devices. Because, you guys all laugh, but think how easy I just ran through that, how much time that would take me. How easy was that? What information do you have available? What information is there? What's out there? University of Washington Medicine began notifying 974,000 that their data was exposed. How did they find out about it? A patient Googled themselves and found their PII.
For sale.
Well, it wasn't for sale, it just happened to be there. They put it in the wrong type of folder and made it searchable. 974,000 of them misconfigured into this folder. All they have to do is Google yourself. Now that leads to another question. How do you get stuff off the internet? Backspace, yeah, that work. How do you do it? How do you do it? So in this case, if you look at it, they went to Google and said, hey, can you pull this information back? Can you pull this information back? Can you get this stuff out? And Google was actually compliant. They didn't have to. I think they were compliant with it. They helped them pull it out. But There's sites out there, ready for this, write this down. Archive.org. If you go to archive.org, it backs up the entire internet. So you can type in a website and the date, and you can go see what was on that website and that day. Archive.org backs up the entire internet, and they will move it from there. I don't know, because I'm not going to go look and then get caught up in that you're trying to steal people's data. Kind of like that whole WikiLeaks thing. I don't want to go read it. I'm good. I don't want to get involved in it. I don't want to be a part of it. But it's there. So once you release something on the internet, how do you get it back? Odds are you won't. Odds are you won't. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult task. So making sure that we don't put it there in the beginning is a way easier way of managing data, right? Making sure that the professional behind the computer that's building the folder understands that this folder has to be encrypted, has to be internal, and it cannot be shared or searchable on the internet. All that would have prevented this, right? But that's really not that much. That's somebody with proper training. Proper training on how to manage and organize data. So, where are we going with this? It was a great talk to you guys. I enjoyed it. But where are we going? Well, we as a school are going with it with, we need that person. We need that person that understands data. We need that person that understands networking. We need that person that understands how to configure a server so that it best meets the needs of the biomed. Because we have those IT guys that best meet the needs of hospitals, right? They're working their butt off to best meet the needs. And I don't have anything bad to say about them. I know, because they're doing the best job they can. They're doing what they can. But they don't understand this thing called biomed. They don't understand these things called biomedical devices. So they don't understand how to protect them. They don't understand how to stop infiltration via that device. But does the biomed? And in some cases, the answer is yes, absolutely. In some cases, the organization as a whole comes together and takes a holistic approach. But wouldn't it be a lot easier if you had that guy that understood the biomed and understood the networking and understood the security requirements that were there? Would he be beneficial to your team? Would that be a guy that you would hire with associates in healthcare information systems management over a guy with security law or over a guy with Cisco? Would that be beneficial to your team? Would that be beneficial to your company as a whole? And if the answer is yes, well, that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to make that guy. If the answer is no, let me know. Let me know to adjust based on the industry, exactly what Lonnie said. Based on the industry, I want to move with the industry. As a sergeant major in the Army, I told you right now in the 392nd, I was also in the schoolhouse for the Army, and I was the commandant for the schoolhouse. The way they did stuff is they would implement stuff to the field, and then at the end, we were all done, and give it to the schoolhouse so we could teach it. So industry is doing that a lot too, right? They're issuing these pieces of equipment out to the field, people are using them, and then they're providing the training. We got to get ahead of that. We got to provide the training. We got to get ahead of that. But how do we do that? Well, we can't do that because how many providers are there? How many different medical devices? We can't have them send us their stuff first. We got to train them on the basics, all the requirements, and all the regulations that say this is data. This is how we protect it inside out. This is how we protect devices from breaches. This is how we don't get fined. This is how we follow the requirements. This is how we meet FDA regulations. Questions or input? Go ahead.
The cyber attacks, they have certain these kind of things.
So these guys that we're working on. Oh, so you're talking about like this, yes, certain teams? Yeah, so they came in and did help, so they will, because Homeland Security helps with that breach. So they can help with it. They're after the fact. So, it's already. Can't go back in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one of the. Go ahead.
How many of these criminals seem to get away with? What do they catch?
So it's kind of a loaded question. Because how many are there? So how many, just a question, you know, and this will lead you to, so this is the number one problem that they have in cyber criminal, just because of my time in cyber. Number one problem is associating a username on the internet with an actual human being. It's really hard to do, because how many John C. Schmitz are on the internet? Well, I have 8 different personas on the internet. Was that 8 people or is that 1? Well, you know, let's just say this, well, we're all hackers. We all log in with John C. Schmidt because we don't want to get caught either. So how many are there actually? So when you say how many are caught,
Some risk managers in the hospital are the ones that are basically trying to avoid the suits. And this is a high-risk area. Is there any risk company out there that can be contracted with the hospital that can potentially give an immediate response back on an individual piece of equipment that they came into the OR? And the doctor wanted to use before, but I'm not going to have a chance to look at it. Just to know if there's some kind of an independent.
yeah, I'm thinking through that, and I'm not sure, but I would imagine there is somebody who does, some corporation that does penetration testing to a hospital, to healthcare facilities.
Someone who could respond to an immediate call from the risk manager. You know, we need to make sure that this coming in or that going out periodically is checked.
Yeah, I'm not aware. Yeah.
It's complicated. Not in but it's something that is continuing.
So, you know, when you're adding devices, I see where you're at, but it needs to be, you know, risk management. The whole change management, risk management function probably needs to be evaluated every time you bring in a new thing, but do you have the resources for that? And how much are we doing this change in risk management? And then do you need a company to say, this is approved for security? And again, I don't know the answer to that. You think there should be? You think there should be? What do you guys are?
Also healthcare, and we did a merger with a company called Civil. And their company is directly related to cyber activity. And we also have a gentleman, part of our team, he's our cyber activity solution. That's how we are trying to assist our partners.
Okay, so what is his background? Just out of curiosity, what's his
He's a
background?
biomed tech.
So he's a biomed tech?
Program manager slash cybersecurity awareness. He works for us, things, and that's what he focuses on. Fish, anything comes to our system, he's the guy calling.
So you found a guy with biomedical experience as well as IT experience.
He works for our company.
Yeah, so you found that guy.
Yeah, and he partnered with this company called Civil.
Mhm.
And that's what they do, cyber activity.
Okay,
So we go to the client, guy, equipment management, that.
so your equipment management plan's a big part of that then.
So like a package deal.
Okay.
What is it? You say this is IT background. Like, when I was training for, because I'm curious, because I know I got Cisco guys, I want to know what is like the actually train for them, to actually go that down.
From a program manager,
Yes.
actually, as far as IT, we just have the IT side.
See, and that's a big question that a lot of people ask. Remember I told you I did penetration testing? I did not do that alone. I'm really good with Microsoft systems. I'm not good with Cisco. I'm not good with servers. There's other guys who can that. So when I did penetration testing, it was a team of us. There wasn't a one guy. It was a whole team that when they did it. It took us some time. What do you have that?
Myself, I'm from the IT background, I work for
Mhm.
and so I realized that you mentioned, you got to know this stuff, about this stuff. There's no way for marketing, but that's context of both sides of what's going on, because all the devices are basically small. So I think I think that it all just in notes, we take it that far. But the problem is people also realize that there's more than just in fixing. If you see that the software version is different, there's a problem. All of them should be the same. If it's not, then there's some kind of
So how often do your IT guys see your devices?
every time you have to bring up a new device on the network, it's supposed to be this process of making sure that this device is okay to be on the network. All the security measures they're putting in place now, is getting breaking, so we're coming to, hey, this doesn't work now. And they fix it. Yeah.
So is that evolving problem? Evolving problem. Here's a new vulnerability, here's a new patch.
Like, last week we shut down all
So that, yeah, that FBI implication. So how did that affect Michigan?
not so much affected our contractors.
So your third party vendors are there, that has an effect on that. How do, yeah, I can't go with it, I mean, I just can't do it. Can't go without my phone. I used to ask that question, how many people could go without email in a day? 3/4 of the room like, yeah. But then I don't want to, can. Who can go without technology in a day? And let's think about that not from an aspect of where I live and where I work. Can you go an entire day at work? So protecting is kind of important. So the government actually put out that there is a fourth life-sustaining requirement. Where you need water, you need housing, you need food, you need internet. Yeah, it's said that in America, you cannot survive without internet. Because you can't get a job. How do you apply for a job? How do you schedule an appointment for the doctor? How do you get your driver's license? How do you do anything without internet? How do you manage patients without internet? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But when that one hospital got affected, and they couldn't do it via the internet, they couldn't do it, they can't get a job now. Uh-huh. Yeah, I can't call my kids, because I don't memorize phone numbers anymore.
Well, it's a definite culture change.
Mhm.
We started many years ago with IT first, and now we're getting in, not just being able to collaborate and work with IT departments, now we're getting into security measures that was never part of that. So, it's just going to happen, and we're going to have to deal with it. But what you're trying to do to educate the new generation of biomedical technicians, that's the part that they need, and not so much what I'll call a 40-year-old problem around electrical safety. You know, if we're still worried about that stuff, we should be putting more focus on this kind of stuff.
So,
Telehealth is going to people's homes or another breach.
so I worked at home health, actually, I worked at home health when I was in college. We specialized in hemophilia and oncology, and we would bring them the pumps, and then nurses and doctors. What did they do on a pump with that? Well, they just threw another one in my van and said, yeah. Well, now, not only going to have to go deliver it, we're going to have to get to their home network. We have to secure it to a VPN, not a commercial private network. Be able to make sure that it's compliant with the requirements that actually be. That's just a deliberate off. I mean, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, how do I do that? Right, there's requirements that just apply. You know, we're getting all the way to where we're getting things to people's houses. In their house. What about how to protect Zoom? because my doctor uses Zoom to communicate with me. Huh? Why not? Why not?
You have a choice.
But how many vulnerabilities are in Zoom? You guys heard about Zoom, right? And all the stuff that happens, breaches that happen. Well, what if that is one of the systems that doctors are using to communicate with their patients? And oh, by the way, I'm not only communicating with my patients, I'm using that system to send prescriptions to the pharmacy. It's a vulnerability, right? It's a device that connects to it. It's a device that's connected to our network and creates that vulnerability. So it's been fun. I'm way over already. But I will continue to stay and I will continue to talk to anybody who wants to. I do value your input. Something fierce. I know Bill and Monty are over there taking notes like mad. Because we are trying to figure out that way forward. How are we able to support you? Because in the end, we are in college, right? We're in college that educates a student that you hire. We want you to hire the best and most competent student. Or graduate, I should say graduate. Right? And we want them to fulfill your needs, the needs of the industry. As Monty said, we want to stay ahead. Tell us what you need tomorrow. We'll try to create that today. Tell us what you need in a week. We'll try to create that today too. We will work towards that end state. What do you want?
I think you did a superb job, Russ.
Okay. So again, I will stay here because like I said, I was way over time. I'll stay here if you want to talk. I would love to stay here and talk. Anybody who wants to, I'll put my mask on. If I can find it. But I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate you guys' input.